Most of us think of wet food as just a special treat, right? A little something extra for our cats. But what if I told you that feeding it to them every single day could trigger a whole cascade of changes deep inside their bodies? That it could completely alter how their organs function, how they feel, and yeah, even how they act around you. Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. You might think you're just dishing out a tastier dinner, but what's really going on a biological level, is you're flipping a switch their system has been waiting for its entire life. We're going to explore what actually happens when you do that, from their kidneys all the way to their brain. We're going to break down the science behind why their body responds so dramatically. And listen, you're definitely going to want to stick around for the end, because there's one critical risk most owners completely miss, and one super simple rule that makes sure all these benefits don't accidentally cause a whole lot of trouble. Okay, first stop, hydration. Have you ever noticed your cat, barely touches their water bowl? It's not them being fussy, it's pure instinct. Cats evolved from desert hunters, and their bodies were literally designed to get almost all their water from the prey they ate. They just have a naturally low thirst drop. Now look at this. This is where it gets really interesting. Dry kibble, it's sitting at around 10% moisture. But wet food, that's up around 80%. That is almost the exact same moisture content as a mouse or a bird, the very things their bodies are built to run on. This isn't a small difference. For their internal systems, this is a total game changer. And here's the payoff. With all that moisture, their kidneys don't have to work nearly as hard filtering out waste. In fact, a study in the Journal of Feline Medicine and Surgery found that cats eating wet food had way more diluted urine. So what does that mean for you and your cat? It means a dramatically lower risk of painful urinary crystals and blockages, which is one of the most common and scary emergencies for cat owners. This whole idea of what's biologically appropriate leads us right to our next big issue: weight. So many indoor cats are overweight, and we tend to blame it on them being lazy. But the real culprit often isn't how much they move, it's what's actually in their food bowl. To really get this, you have to know this term: obligate carnivore. It sounds a little complicated, but it's simple. It just means that cats are required, by their very biology, to eat meat. Their bodies are just not built to process carbohydrates for energy. They have almost no use for them. And just look at this chart. A lot of dry foods are packed with 40%, even more, carbohydrates. They're mostly just fillers and binders. And since a cat's body can't use those carbs for fuel, it does the only thing it knows how to do. It stores them as fat. Wet food, on the other hand, is almost all protein and fat, with carbs usually under 10%. So here's the key takeaway. Wet food is high in protein and, as we know, moisture. A study from the Waltham Center for Pet Nutrition found that this combo sends a much stronger signal to their brain that says, hey, I'm full. They actually feel satisfied on fewer calories, which helps them naturally stay lean. It's not about willpower, it's about the food being designed correctly for their bodies. All right, let's talk about one of the first changes you'll probably see with your own eyes: a cat's coat. Well, it's one of the most honest signs of what's going on inside. You just can't fake a healthy, glossy coat. So if your cat has fur that's kind of dull or flaky skin or sheds a ton, that's not just a grooming issue. It's a signal. It's their body telling you something is off nutritionally. Wet food is packed with those high-quality, animal-based proteins and fats that are the literal building blocks for healthy skin and fur. A lot of owners say that within just a few weeks, the fur gets softer and the shedding calms down. It's an outside sign that their body is finally getting what it needs. This brings us to a change that can bring a whole lot of peace to your home: mealtime behavior. You know what I'm talking about. Does your cat start screaming the second you walk into the kitchen? Do they inhale their food in 10 seconds flat? Well, that might not just be their personality. You have to ask yourself this: is my cat just greedy? Or are they just constantly hungry because their food isn't actually making them feel full? That frantic behavior, the constant begging, those 4 a.m. wake-up calls, a lot of the time, that's just a cry for a meal that truly satisfies them. And here's why. Kibble, because it's so low in moisture and high in carbs, digests really, really fast. It doesn't fill their stomach in the same way, and it doesn't trigger the right hormones that tell the brain, okay, we're good here, we're done. So they eat, but their body still feels like it's missing something. But when you make the switch to wet food, that whole cycle starts to break. The high protein and water content provide real satiety, A study in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior actually confirmed that cats on these high-protein diets showed way less food-seeking behavior. They eat, they feel full, and then they calmly walk away. Suddenly, mealtime is peaceful instead of chaotic. Okay, so we've gone through all these incredible benefits, but just like I promised, there is one risk that can undo all this good if you're not careful. This is that simple rule that makes all the difference. Here's the crucial point. Kibble can sit out all day, no problem. But wet food absolutely cannot. That moisture that makes it so healthy, well, it also makes it a perfect breeding ground for bacteria. At room temperature, that food can become unsafe to eat in as little as 1 to 2 hours. So here it is, the simple, non-negotiable rule. Call it the 2-hour safety rule. You serve the food fresh, you pick up anything they haven't eaten after 2 hours, max. Any leftovers from the can get covered and go straight into the fridge, and you should use those up within 48 hours. That's it. It's a really simple habit that keeps your cat safe. And hey, one last pro tip, especially for those of you with picky eaters. Cats are naturally drawn to food that's about body temperature because it mimics fresh prey. Serving wet food straight from the fridge cold can be a real turnoff for them. Just add a little splash of warm water or even pop it in the microwave for just a few seconds. It makes it way more appealing. So it really all comes down to this one question. When you fill up your cat's bowl every day, are you choosing what's most convenient for you? Or are you choosing what was biologically designed for a carnivore? The answer could change absolutely everything for them.